In this video I'm going to do something slightly unusual. I'm going to show you how to draw flowers. Well, that is nothing unusual for me, but the software I'll be using is Clip Studio Paint. I've done videos in Procreate, Rebel, even some Sketchbook in the past, but never done any videos in Clip Studio Paint. While I've been using Clip Studio Paint for quite a while already. Actually, a lot of years ago, when it still used to be called Manga AX, I was still already using it. So I would love to show you in this video how to draw some flowers. So let's get started with that. I've already started Clip Studio Paint Pro on my laptop. The laptop I'm using is a Lenovo Flex 5 with a pen. You see me using a custom-made glove, and I'm using a little key dial like this. Since my keyboard is gone, I flipped it over, so here are the most important keys on it. But whatever your setup is, of course you can use that. The only difference, probably what you see here, is a flower, and this is the flower we're gonna actually draw and paint later on. A cosmos. They're growing in my garden, so this is one of them, and we're gonna draw them. Now, linked below are photographs, 2 photographs of the ones we're gonna draw. I'm gonna use this live flower to point some things out. And we're just going to start. So the first thing we need is a new file. And I'm going to say file new, obviously. And I'm going to pick an A4. I'm just going to work on an A4, and that is 210 by 297 millimeters. The resolution is on 300. In case I like it really a lot and want to print it, I can do that. If you need a different kind of size, like a US inch, you could change this to inch here unit and then change that to 8 by, I think 8.5 by 11 inch. I think that is a letter size, if I'm right. Yeah, 8.5 by 11. So you could change that. I'm working in millimeters. So an A4, whatever size you want to use that. Don't make it really small. Make it a nice, regular paper size so that we can work in some decent resolution. And I'm going to say OK. And there we have our paper, the paper we're going to use. Now for pens and paint, I'm going to just walk you through what I'm using while I'm going. But the first thing is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this flower. So if I'm taking a look at this flower, I'm noticing that this flower is pretty much symmetrical. So we could use symmetrical tools, but we're not going to do that. We're actually going to draw the whole flower. And it has then, obviously, since it's symmetrically, it has 8 petals. And we're going to draw these. And of course, the other thing we mentioned, see right away, is a heart there in the middle. That's the main things about this flower. Now the cosmos comes in various colors. This one is pink. You have purple ones. There's white ones. And we're going to just play a little bit with the color. Since this is pretty much symmetrical, around it is almost a perfect circle. And if I look a little bit easier, instead of a circle, you can imagine a square around it. You could imagine a square around the 2 major parts. Those are around the petals, so the outside of the flower, and around here you could do that too. And what we're going to do, we're going to draw that first. So putting the flower aside again carefully. For that, on the left here are the tools. I actually have set it on comic. So if you have set it on illustration, you might have your tools slightly different than mine. I've set it on comic. I like the way to work in that. I find that the easiest. And what you're going to find is here. So this is the fill button, the gradients, and under there is figure. And yours might be actually on a line. We're going to draw a boundary box around our flower. And that's actually, let's say, the limits of our flower. It cannot go outside of that, so that we have an idea where it goes. But before we're going to do that, I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to just go for a color set. I'm picking the standard color set, and I'm picking black, so that I can clearly see what I'm doing. The next thing is, I want a square. Now there's only a rectangle. If I just put this somewhere, as you can see, this makes whatever I want. It's hard to determine whether it's a square or a rectangle. What you're going to do is you're going to press Shift on your keyboard, and now it creates a perfect square. I'm going to use pretty much most of the paper. I'll leave some margins around it and let it go. And that's it. That's the first step. The next step, well, we need to determine the middle of the heart. And what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to use some lines. So if I would imaginary put some lines on it, they would all cross in a certain point in the middle. And I'm going to put a few here. So I pick the line. I'm just going to go from corner, basically to corner. It doesn't need to be totally exact as long as we got an idea. There you go. And then the next step, what I'm going to take is I'm going to create a circle, and for that I'm going to use the ellipse. I'm going to go to this corner and drag an ellipse, but I'm going to press Shift again so that it actually becomes a circle. And there you go. Now my flower in the perfect situation is not going outside of this. And if I take this flower carefully, so this is wet and we've got a computer, put it on there, see, you get that nice round here, and we've got that round, but I'm creating it a bit larger, of course. Now we've determined where the flower goes, but there's also in it a little heart, and so I need a circle in the middle somewhere. Now that's going to be tricky to get somewhere, but we have already established this heart line here, so somewhere on this heart line I can drag a circle and create a perfect circle too. Or what I could do first, to make sure it stays where I want it, I could draw another boundary box, but instead of using actually a box, I'm going to use some lines. Now looking at this flower, I'm going to say this heart is about, so I could divide this up actually in 4 pieces. So this heart would fit twice in there, or let's measure it. Let's see if I can measure it with something. If I have something laying around, which would actually be around as large as the heart. Yes, this is around size, so twice. The petals are twice the heart, so I know that I need about 1/3. I need to draw another rectangle. Well, let's pick another rectangle for that. So I'm guessing, I'm estimating this. Around here I would say that's about 1/3, and I'm going to of course press the Shift again, and now I'm going to look where it lines up with all of the heart lines, and around here would be my hearts. And I think that would be slightly too large probably. So I'm going to undo this. I'm going to remember where I am, so I'm going to put my pen where I want it. That's better. I like this, and I'm going to make sure I press Shift. And I'm looking at this piece here. This is about half of that. Yeah. And the next thing, of course, then would be, we're going to draw that circle in it. And now I have every part of my flower is ready. The next thing which I'm going to do, I'm going to draw in the petals. Well, I'm going to determine where the petals are. Now, since this is symmetrical, there's going to be a petal here, here, and here, but also a petal with a line through the middle. So I'm going to pick the line. There you go. And I'm going to go through the middle. I'm going to drag a line. I'm going to press Shift again, and then it goes straight up. And I know I need a line right there. And let's do another one there. Let's do one here. And I'm pressing Shift with this, and there we go. Now we've determined where everything goes. So now we can draw in the rest. Now what we're going to do, we're going to just do a sketch and then ink over it on a new layer. I'm going to keep this on a separate layer, so I'm going to add a new layer by going here to layers, adding a new layer, and I'm going to pick not a pen but a pencil for this. Let's see, these are pencils. No, these are the pens. Pencils, there you go. I'm just going to pick the regular pencil. The size is now set on 4. Let me see. Well, I think I pretty much do like that. That's thick enough. I could go slightly less. Let's go for 3. Oh yeah, I like that. That's good. And on this layer, what I'm going to do with the previous layer, I'm going to set the opacity a little bit less than what it is now. Around half, so that I can see my new layer a lot better. All right, now let's take a look at the flower. I see the heart. Now the heart is round, but it's not all rounded. And I'm going to zoom in for this. Now I can't zoom that in, but you could zoom that in on the photograph. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this in. I'm seeing the outer circle and I'm seeing the inner circle. And the inner circle is all little pollen. But I'm going to draw the outer circle first. And that is not totally straight. So what I'm going to do, just very loosely with that pencil, I want to draw some scribbly lines like this. And there you go. And I'm going to draw a few more scribbly lines in a next round. I'm trying to keep it nicely round, and then I'm going to draw in all those little pollen, so making it myself easy, starting on the obvious parts, and I'm not sure if that is totally symmetrical, but I'm not going to count that anyway. Who's going to count? And in between I'm going to add some more of them, and as you can see, we're doing this fairly roughly, even one more there, changing the size a little bit here, a few small ones and a larger ones. This is not perfectly symmetrical. And inside, if you would zoom in, you would see a little, well, not totally round, but we're going to make them rounds here and there. There you go. I like that. That's good. The next thing is, now I'm looking at these petals and I'm determining which one is on top. This one is on top. And I'm seeing one thing. They're not all the same at the top. They're all slightly different. And what I'm seeing too, that mainly they're a bit rounded on the top, slightly, but they have some pointy parts too. So even some, these look like triangles. So, and they're overlapping at the bottom, but there's a gap between them right here, right there, there. So they're a bit rounded. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw the outside of these petals, and pretty much meeting in the middle. So I'm starting in the middle. I'm just making that arch a little bit. There you go. And for the next one, I'm doing the same. I want to keep it about the same width. So I might start with this one on top a little bit, then go down here and let them meet. And that would be my first petal. Now that petal under here starts at the same point and actually comes under it. So I'm drawing it in and it goes like this. And let's see, yeah, that petal is on top, and that doesn't really matter a lot where it is on top, which one is on top and which is under it. And then the next petal would be here, and I'm just drawing it. This one is a bit, you can alter the width a little bit because this one is small, but this one is definitely a lot wider. And then I'm having the next petal, and that one goes, and they're all overlapping. The next one is overlapping the next one. And I'm noticing this brush here has definitely some tilt to it. Undo is, by the way, 2 fingers. So I'm starting at the side which is on top, and I'm drawing in that petal, and then I'm imagining where the other one starts, and I'm letting them overlap a little bit at the bottom. Here the same. And just an arch. There you go. And around here, this one needs to come around there, and let me draw that arch again. And there you go. And as you see, I'm using a little bit of a sketching motion for all of this. So not a continuous line where I'm drawing like this, but I'm sketching it a little bit so that when I make a wrong turn, I can just correct this pretty easily. And there we go. Now that's the next thing I'm having already. See, the flower is pretty much there. And the top, what I'm going to do is, there goes those triangles, and I'm just painting it, drawing that in roughly. Here's only one. There you go. I'm alternating a little bit. I'm making some interesting strokes. Oops, there went my screen. There you go. Now this one, I think I want to have a little bit more of these fringes. Let's go with this one. 2 clear ones. There you go. And I'm going to do that one like that. And then the last one like that. And there we have our cosmos flower. Let me put this aside, at least from the top. Now, the next thing I want to determine is where my light comes from. You can pick any side. You could pick this side, And the only thing you need to remember, let's say the light comes from here, then it would shine like this. And the only thing I need to remember that if I take this petal, for example, there you go, the light would hit there, most light, and slightly less light there. For this petal, it might be slightly like this. And this petal would have most light there and less light there. And if I would shade it in, that is way too big. Then this part would be dark, this would be, there you go, less dark, and this would be almost light. So that's that. And let me do this one too. So on top here, I would do it like this with this one. Light hits there. And with this one, the light comes from here. So actually on this one, it would be reversed. So the most light would be there. Let me do that on this one too, already. Why not? I'm going to undo some stuff. I'm going to give this one the light like this, and this one like that, and then this one lighted here the most, light at least there. And you could do the other way around too, you could light these the most, but this will give an interesting effect. And this one I'm going to light like that. So now I've determined how I want my light and shadow to go. Now, what the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this. So I'm going to add a new layer on top of this. That previous layer where I've drawn on, I'm going to go 50%, and that layer with my construction lines, I'm just going to hide for now. See, now I got a nice flower already. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to use hatching. So on my practice layer where I started with the same pencil, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Let's say I've got a box here, and the same idea. Light is hitting there, less light, least light. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hatch, and hatch is simply draw lines under an angle like this. There you go. And draw some lines here too. Actually, I could have drawn them in one go. So here's the most light, hardly any lines. Here's, actually no lines at all. Here is a little bit less light, so some lines. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to cross hatch, and that is just going on the opposite angle. And there you go. That is basically what we're going to do simply with this flower in ink. Now later on, we're going to paint it so we can make use of colors. But if you want to use black and white, this is a simple way of drawing and playing with a flower. So I'm going to that new layer where I got my flower on, and I need a pen. So I'm going to the pens, and I'm going to pick the mapping pen. For that, size is now on 2.5, that's fine. The brush size, I think I'm fine with 2.5. The opacity is on 100. It has some anti-aliasing I have in the middle. Stability, I'll leave up to you what you do. That depends on your pen and your setup, whether you need a lot of stability or hardly any. So I'm going to draw my outline first. Now I have two choices. What I could do is use continuous lines. So depending on what you're going to draw. If you're going to draw a comic, what you want to do is probably use strong straight lines. I'm going to keep it on black. It changed. And you could draw a continuous line like this. And there you go. That would be my first petal. 2.5 is pretty thick, but looks pretty cool. I could do that. The next thing which I could do is I could just keep on sketching. So I'm going to do that with this petal, and I'm just going to keep on sketching, and you already see the difference. And this is pressure sensitive. I'm going to slightly thinner lines because I'm not pressing that hard. And then I would get a flower like this. And I'll leave that up to you what you're going to pick. Whether you want the continuous lines or whether you want sketching. I'm continuing to sketch because I like that on my flowers. I like sketching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of this. I could tap with my fingers, but I have a little thing for that programmed. There you go. So I'm going to use sketching, but of course you can do continuous lines. So I'm going to start with this one. The top one. I'm just going to follow these lines, and now I'm inking them in. I'm doing that rather nice and loosely so that I get very nice lifelike lines. Lifelike or lively? Let's say lively lines. And there you go. And let me continue with this one. No, that's not right. I'm going wrong. I want to make sure I'm getting an angle. And of course you can turn the paper and keep on going like this, starting with the one on top. And then I've got this one under it. And now I don't really like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to correct that. And that's the nice thing about redoing it, sketching over it or drawing over it. You can just correct some things which you don't like. I want to start with this line again. And there we go. Turn my paper. Keep it loose, sketchy. Well, this is not a sketchy video, is it? It is a sketch. And the last one, I want that one, see that goes under it. I want to make sure it goes really under it here. And there we go. There we have our flower. Now make sure, turn it the right way. I'm going to do the heart, of course. These I'm going to do a little bit more. And again, same as with the pencil we did under it. I'm going to do this also a bit loosely. Continuing here, I want that one a bit longer then. And there you go. And adding some of these lines in it, giving the heart a little bit of definition, defining it a little bit. Now we're gonna add these circles in, and as you can see, I'm also sketching these little circles, these pollen ends. You could do one round, but I want to keep it all a bit lively sketch, so I'm going to do it like that. Now these are too little probably. Should have done these definitely a little bit larger. And I'm going to just do some half circles in here too to make it look interesting. There you go. That one. All right, and if I now hide my sketch, there you go. There's my flower. Now I need to bring in that light and shadow. Now I can't draw light, but I can draw shadow. So what I'm going to do under it, I'm going to add a new layer. I like this, so I want to keep this. So I'm going to bring back my sketch where I roughly already set where I want my light and shadows to go. I'm going to start with this one. And I'm going to use this angle. About this angle is right, I think. And if you make it smaller, it's easier to sketch. And I'm sketching these in. There you go. Until the line where I wanted them to go. And with this one, I'm actually going to add a few more at the bottom. And I'm going to cross hatch, so take a different angle. Actually 180 degrees around it. 180 degrees turned. And there you go. And that would be my flower. Well, let me continue. And I'm going to do each petal pretty much under a nice angle. And if you can't reach all the way, then you could sketch, or as I did with the first one, zoom out a little bit so that you can make longer lines, although they're not really longer, but reach it in one go. There we go. That's one. The next one, I'm going to pick a slightly different angle. I'm going to start like this here. And there we go, that's that. Now the heart, let me take a look at the heart. Now the heart would have actually the same idea. Lots of light right there, less light right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hatch around here. There you go. And I might actually create a cross hatch of this. There we go. Right. Now let's hide our sketch under it, and here is our flower. Now with these, what I want to do is some of these I want to hatch a little bit at the bottom, these two. And keeping in mind that my light comes from here, so the opposite side of the light, that's where I'm hatching just a little bit, not too much. Here's a large one, there too. Oh, stay here. And I think I've got pretty much all of them except this one, and here. There you go. All right, I like that. Let's see. I want to definitely hatch this just a little bit more, and I want to hatch in here a little bit. There you go. And what I'm going to do around here, there would be some shadow, so I'm going to thicken this line a little bit. I'm going to do the same with this, where they overlap, thicken these a little bit, and here too. Just add some scribbles, some lines to it. Under here we could do the same. Here too, so that we're strengthening the shadow, some extra shadow, just some shadow lines basically. There you go. And strengthening the idea of the shadow. Around here we can do that too. A little bit here. Here too. Let's see, where you go. There you go. And around there too. And there we go. And I think my flower is fine like this. And there we have our inked Cosmos flower from the top. Now we can add some color to this, of course, and why not do that? Make something more pretty of this. This is nice, but we're going to just add some color to make it more interesting. Let's do that. Before we're going to add color, well, this flower, of course, has a stalk. Now technically you would not see the stalk since we're looking from the top, but what we're going to do, I want to just add somewhere, I think around here would be nice to add an angled stalk a little bit to make it slightly more interesting. I'm going to do it like that, and of course make it slightly thicker, and I'm doing this in one go. There you go, and that looks interesting. Now technically that's not possible, but we're going to hatch this, and I think I'm doing it all on the hatching layer now. And with color I'm going to just scribble some shading at the back here and under here, and I'm going to add an extra line at the back. I think I'm fine with that. We could add some of these leaves in it, and if you even can call them leaves, if you can see them, they're under here. They're just basically some almost branches, huh? So if I would add one like that, I would simply add something really simple like this, and I will do it probably around here too. There you go. Now it looks just a little bit more interesting than what we had, and this I'm going to keep it fairly simple. All right, I'm going to add a new layer under this, and I'm going to paint this. Now for that I need some colors. What I'm going to do for the colors, I'm going to start a new document, and I'm picking the same size, that's fine. So now I've got two documents open, and what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to import that photo. Not a time lapse. I want to import the image, and I got to find that image, of course, that are with it. And I know where I have them. They're on videos, and there should be here somewhere the cosmos from the top. Open them, and there you go. Oh, this is fine. It's just for the colors. So now I can pick some colors. So let's pick that pink. So we're going to pick the color picker that is here. So I'm picking this color. There you go. There's pink. Doesn't really matter. One of the pinks. I'm going back to this document. I'm going to make sure I'm not on the color picker anymore, and I should have that pink color here too. Now, I don't want that. I want to paint it. So let's go for a paintbrush. I want to do some gouache painting on this one. There you go. I'm just picking that gouache brush. Well, it's 7. The amount of paint here is now set on 80. The density is 60. The color stretch is 15. The paper. What I'm going to do is the paper density. This determines how much texture goes in it. I'm leaving that on 100. The color stretch, I'm fine with 15. The size, let's see if the size is right. There you go. I could go slightly larger, but 7 would work. Now with this brush, as soon as I go over where I've been, it's going to put another layer under it. It's going to give me some interesting colors. And what I want to do is I'm just going to color these in, and I'm depending on how strong you press is the color you get. Now this is quite a dark color already. So I'm pressing not firm, but reasonably firm. And well, we could go with a larger brush. And I'm just painting in the first layer of these flowers really easily. There you go. And I don't mind if we're going to go outside a little bit. And I'm just going to paint all these petals with this brush. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them. I'm going to do all of them in a minute, but speed that part up since that will take quite a while. Now, light and shadow. We could leave it basically like this. But what we could also do is I could go to that brush and go to the color wheel. Now it picked a color, and what I could do is I can go lighter, so all the way up top, and undo, get another layer on top of it. There you go, and paint in over it that nice lighter color like this. And right where the lighter color should go, there you go. And what I could also do, of course, I could pick a little bit of a darker color and add that at the part where it should be darker. Now, I'm leaving this up to you, how you want your colors. If you want it more pink, want to keep it purple. If I hide my complete flower now, there you go, you could get a painting like this. Now, it's simple as that, but I want to keep these, of course. And that's what I'm going to do with these colors. I'm going to go back to that first layer where I got the original color on. I'm going to this flower again. I'm going to pick that color picker, and I'm going to pick a nice yellow somewhere in between. I'm going to go back to the brush, back to my drawing, and I should have a yellow now. And I'm going to basically paint this part in. So I'm pressing half strong, I would say, reasonably, but not too much. If you press really strong, there's no texture, as you can see. If you press a little bit less, see, there is this nice texture in it, and I want that texture in it. All right, there's my heart. And I'm going to do the same here. Go to that next layer where I want it really light. I'm going to paint over with a really light color, a little bit around here too. And where I want it slightly darker, I want to keep it on the yellow. I want to darken this a little bit to get that idea of shadow, and maybe under here a little bit too in this inner ring to create a little bit of sense of depth in it. And that's the way I'm going to do my flower. Now on my photo there's no green actually. I'm going to just look at the flower and we're gonna pick a green from our standard color palette. Let's see, this looks like a nice green next to that yellow orange on the 1, 2, 3, 4th row, that green. I probably need a slightly smaller brush for this. I'm going to 4. I like that color, that's okay. Even add a little bit of color around here. And I'm gonna go to the color wheel, create it slightly darker under here, and on top of it I want some darker color and add the back a little bit. That's it, that's good. All right, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna speed this up. I'm gonna just do these remaining petals and then I'll be back. And that's my illustrated cosmos flower. Now if I look at this, I've just noticed that the colors might be slightly different, lighter, but that's totally up to you which colors you pick, whether you want them lighter or darker. But noticed here is at the base there is some really nice strong color going, well, pretty much to the red. Let's see, that is in there, that color. Let's see if we can pick that color. It's probably not strong enough. Going back to the paintbrush and to our drawing, of course. Let's see, I want to make this, slide that over a little bit to that side, and let's see what we can do with this. I need to go on top of this. I'm going on the top layer where I've painted, and I'm gonna make sure my paintbrush is smaller, 5, let's see if that is, look, that is nice. And I'm gonna add that color at the bottom, drag it in to the flower a little bit. There you go, see, and that creates something interesting. So what I'm doing at the base, I'm pressing with a middle pressure, and then at the edges, so towards the light, I'm pressing a little bit less. So here too, I'm pressing at the base, slightly more firm, and then I'm doing another layer, blending this in a little bit, hardly pressing here too, so that I get a nice transition between all the colors. We could use the gouache blender for this, but that will take away the texture most likely too, and I'm not sure if I want that. A little bit less. There we go. And if you change the pressure, sometimes press a little bit more firm, then slightly less. There we go. Oh, I like that a lot better. See, that brightens up that flower right away. Now, if we would hide the sketch, then we would end up with a painting like this, only this is gone and you would need to paint in a lot more. So I'm keeping nicely my sketch like this. Well, that's nice, but now I'm wondering, do I want to keep this on that white paper, or do I want to give this a background color? Let me consider that. Now we have a nice drawing, but I'm considering basically adding a new layer under everything, adding a background. What color would I do for a background? That's a good question. Huh? Go to the yellow, go to the bluish color, do some more pink, teal color. Wow, there's plenty of colors I could try. Let's go back to the color wheel first of all. Now, this is a flesh color, a nice pinkish flesh color, and with the same brush probably, but nice and large. How large can it go? 100? Ah, that's not the right color, is it? Undo. You gotta pick that color, please. There you go. Well, that would actually be a very nice color. I'm going. So for some reason, I'm pressing a button and selecting the color picker. I gotta stay away from that. Oh, that would be an interesting color. Around here, I might want to have it stronger and then ease off the pressure to blend it in nicely. Or I might do it like this and go half here. I kind of like that. That's an interesting color. There's another color next to it, which probably is slightly darker. Oh yes, look at that. And I'm blending this in. There you go. I don't want to touch this too much, but around here. And if you press a little, it's gonna blend a little. There you go. I kind of do like that. That's a nice color. Now you could pick a different color if I hide this. And then blue would work too. Pick a light or a blue greenish color. Here is a blue greenish color. Let's add that. See, that would work fine too. And you basically do the same, paint it lightly, and then where you want the color to be strong, press harder and then ease off the pressure to blend it in a little bit. Ah, that would work pretty well too, wouldn't it? Interesting. Huh? Right, you could add some colors to this, a bit of a pink color would create quite some interesting tones. And now I'm blending this in. You could play with this, all kinds of background colors. You could add some yellow to it there a little bit and then blend it in. And I want some yellow up there, but I'm not pressing too hard. And I want to tone this down a little bit by adding some yellow to it. Now look at that. And there's one too with another different kind of background, and you can play with this for hours. Pick different brushes, bring in textures, create something interesting. Looks interesting. We can take this one step further. Let me show you what I want to do next. What I want to happen next is I want this flower to cast a little bit of a shadow onto the background. And to accomplish that, what I want to do is these layers where the color is on, and where I've drawn, I want to merge them first of all. So what I'm going to do first, I don't want to merge them, I want to preserve them, but I'm going to add a new layer folder. And basically drag all of them into the layer folder. Now probably they might be in the wrong order. Which one did I miss? This one. And if I hide the layer folder now, everything should be gone. Yes, that's it. And I want to duplicate this. So to duplicate, I hold my pen on it, press my mouse button, and I should have an option, duplicate layer. And I get a second folder, and I want to merge these. So now I've got two of them. And what I want to do with this one, I want to flatten it. So pressing on it with the mouse button again and say merge selected layers. And now if I hide this one, see, this should be one. That's what I want. The next thing which I'm going to do with this, I'm going to give this one color, and for that I'm going to use alpha lock. Lock the transparency pixels. Now I've got that, and if I paint over it now with a different color, it's not going to go outside but only on top of this. So I'm going to go for that black, and if I paint this in, as you can see, it's all getting black, but it's not going outside. And now my laptop has got to keep up with this. And there we go. Nice. The next thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to untap that. I'm going to bring back my flower in a minute. I'm going to use this as a shadow, but this is way too strong. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to blur this a little bit. And for that, we're going to go to filter, select blur, and then say blur. Not strong enough. I want a really nice, strong Gaussian blur. There you go. Right, and now I can determine how much I want this to be blurred. And say okay. Not much Gaussian blur going on here. There you go. Right, that would work. It's a bit slow. I'm undoing this. I'm going to do this again. That was too much. So filter, blur, say Gaussian blur. Slide this. Let's pick around half, 97. There you go. It needs a little bit time to catch up. I like this. Okay, good. Now I'm bringing back my original flower. And what I got to do with this flower here, I got to move this so that it comes as a shadow back to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the move tool. I'm going to say move layer. And now I can move it, see, wherever I like it. And I like this. The only thing I now have is that strong black color under it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pick an eraser. It doesn't matter, hard, no, I'm going to pick a soft eraser. A bit larger. And under the petals, where there shouldn't be shadow, I want to remove that shadow. There you go, to get my original color back. And let's do a very small one. Make sure that there's no blurring under that one. And I might do the edges here a little bit. With that small brush here too. See, that's a bit more accurate. Start with the large brush and then go to the small one. And there we go. And now I've got a very interesting one. The only thing is that shadow is way too strong, but that's what we have opacity for. And if I go like this, now we've got our original flower back, we've got a nice shadow behind, we've got a background, whichever background you like, whether you like the colorful background or you like the more toned down background, that is totally up to you. Looking good so far. Oh boy, and now I'm saying so far, that means there's more to come. We're going to add one more step. We've done mostly a bit of traditional drawing, inking and painting, a little bit of digital, but I want to add a little bit more digital power to it. Make use of the power of Clip Studio Pro and some of the layer effects and bring some extra strength of light and shadow into our drawing. Let's do that. To accomplish that, I'm going to add 2 layers above everything. The top layer, I'm going to press on here where it now says norm or normal, depending on the screen size you have. And I'm going to change this to overlay. This is going to lay a layer over it and really highlighting the colors under it. The next one, I'm going to switch to multiply, and that is actually going to multiply the colors that are under it, actually darkening them. And now you probably already get the idea. I want to lighten some parts, I want to darken some parts. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the flower. I want to get that color picker. There you go. And I'm going to pick a light color. That's good. And I'm going back to this flower and I'm going to add some of those highlights then. Now for that I've got a color now, but I really want it lighter. I'm moving it to the top, not all the way to the white, but still want a little bit of that pinkish color coming through it. And the brush I'm going to pick for that is the same brush actually. I'm going to stick to the gouache brush. I want to make it smaller, I think. Let's go for 5 size. And on the edge, for example, this edge here, where it would be nicely light. See, I'm going to paint in a little bit of light like this. And then at the edge, I want to ease off the pressure to blend it in nicely. See, now you get a nice lighted part. Here I want to do the same, a little bit like this. And then over here, I want to nicely blend it in a little bit. There you go. And I'm going to do that the same here on the top mainly, and perhaps a little bit there, and then ease off the pressure and add some highlights like that. See, that adds another new highlight we had before here too. There you go. Ease off the pressure so that I can blend it in nicely. On top here too a little bit. Make it interesting. Now here I'm going to do a little bit on this top here. Blend it in a little bit. There you go. Around here I'm going to do it, I think, around here. Add some interest, and with this one I can go here again and ease off the pressure. And I think I've got them all. I'm going to do the same on the yellow. I'm not pressing too hard here. I just want to add a little bit of highlight around the edge too. Now you could technically, of course, take some yellow for this, and I want to highlight this part here a little bit too. There you go. See, and now we're bringing in some depth. Well, we could do a little bit here too, just a little bit of highlight like that. Not all the way. Oh, this is, there you go, interesting. Just that little bit. There we go, good. See, and if I hide this again, you see the difference right away. It just makes that flower pop a little bit more. We're going to this one. We're still having that color, but we're moving this to a slightly dark, and not all the way dark, but around there. I want to add some shadow. For example, around here, I want to add a little bit of shadow. That would, and then the edge I ease off again. Around, that would be nice. There you go, see? Because that heart actually would cast shadow on there. If I put a strong light on here, it would cast some shadow there. The inside here, I want to do that too, and I'm going to just go with that same color, and now I'm hardly pressing so that I can blend this in a little bit. There you go. See, now I'm getting a sense of depth. Let carefully around the bottom, hardly pressing. Let's add a little bit there, and at the tip of the petals, so around there, for example, and then easing it off there. I want to do that too, a little bit stronger, and where there's some shadow right there, I want to add some shadow, and then back here, add a bit of a line. There you go, make it playful, a little bit under an angle. Here too, let's add some shadow first there, and now let's keep on going with that shadow. And now blending it in a little bit. There you go, see, and that looks suddenly a lot different. Some shadow around here. Cast off that petal under it. Some shadow around here. Let's go with some shadow around here and some shadow basically under there. There you go. And now the edges. I'm following a bit what we've done there. There you go. And around here, I might as well add an edge there and do it around here and under there just a little bit. And let's see, where do I want it here? I'm going for this part here, and this part here. All right, let's add a little bit there. Good. And as you can see, now the flower pops even more than it did. I'm going to 3 and I'm going to add just a little bit at the back here, and now blend that in here too, and right there. And by hardly pressing, I can blend it in, and now I've got something interesting. See, and if I hide that, see how much that brings these light and these shadows forward. And that's what we're going to do. And here I'm going to stop. I'm going to put my pen down. Oh, you can't see that. I could put it right there. Pen down. That's it. We're not going to do anything anymore on this flower. And there you have it, our cosmos flower from the top. But by adding the stalk, we tilted it as if it's folded towards us, looking towards us, making it interesting, adding a background, some shadow on the background, as if it is close to a wall or something like that. And then adding some highlights and shadows to the flower to really make it pop off that page. And now we're done. And that's it. And now we have a beautiful cosmos flower in Clip Studio Paint. Well, thank you for being with me in this, well, turned out to be a pretty complete lesson. Hope you enjoyed it, picked some things up. If you follow me, I would of course love to see what you create. So then down below, just put a link to where you post your image so that I can enjoy it too, and others watching this video too. And I'm looking forward to what you will create.